And yet another company hoping to seek the holy grail of a powerful handheld gaming PC has, according to Lilliputian, hit another big snag, and that is the Smach Z handheld gaming PC. This is something that I backed because I'm always looking for new and interesting stuff to share with all of you. Sometimes I get a great one in, like the GPD Win, which is a functional gaming handheld Windows PC that actually works. This one intrigued me because it was going to be powered by an AMD system on a chip. And as we've seen with other AMD-based devices, they've done a nicer job in the graphics performance side of things to give a little more horsepower to the onboard GPU on these chips. And I expected that this one would perform better for more modern games than we saw out of the Atom chip on the GPD Win handheld. So I backed it hoping this would happen. And part of the reason why I backed it was that they had a pretty decent hardware team working on it. They had one team called ROM.io working on this AMD processor, another group called IMASD working on the physical casing of the computer. So they went out and found experts that could make this for them, and that gave me some confidence that this wasn't some company without a track record putting it together. But unfortunately, it looks like that's what we're going to end up with here. So the first thing that happened last week was that ROM announced that they were out of the project completely, and the reason for it was pretty concerning to me as a backer. They said that the Smach Z team does not understand or value the complexity of development and fabrication that this kind of product implies, specifically regarding to the technical and economic matters. In other words, they're saying that the Smach Z team, these are the experts now who are making this motherboard here, have really little confidence that the team has any technical wherewithal or any idea of what this stuff is going to cost in the end. Meanwhile, they've taken a lot of money from people like me and you, if you backed it, to put it all together. That was concern number one. The second concern for me was the IMASD team. So in their Kickstarter page, again, one of the reasons why I felt comfortable backing this was that they have a hardware manufacturer, IMASD, with more than 10 years of experience in designing and manufacturing mobile devices such as tablets, yada, yada, yada. Very exciting news to hear that they were going to be part of this. And guess what? They sent out an email like we should all have known about this, but apparently IMASD backed out of the project also. So they don't have anyone making the actual physical case for this device, nor do they have somebody making the computer that goes into this device. So right now they've got nothing, yet their plan here is to continue soldiering on themselves. But if they were able to do this themselves to begin with, why did they even bring these two teams in initially? I think what's going to happen here is one of two things. One, they're going to run out of money and go defunct, which is probably a likely scenario. Scenario two is that they ship some piece of junk from a Chinese manufacturer that gets them something to deliver to backers so they can't say they were ripped off, and the company will go out of business the day after the last piece gets shipped out. And that's happened before. I had a drone that met that same fate. They sent out a non-functioning drone. It was built, but it just didn't work, and I think this might be what we'll see here out of these folks. So what do I plan to do next? Well, I will tell you that I am just sick of getting ripped off on these crowdfunding platforms. I have more stuff that didn't show up or just showed up with a piece of garbage like that thing we looked at on the didn't make the cut video last week, that I'm so done with all this stuff. And I think it's about time for consumers to start exercising some of their rights more aggressively against these crowdfunding platforms. And let me tell you why. So in the case of the Smach Z here, Indiegogo is probably making about $25,000 in fees off of the money that they collected for this project that is careening into a mountain at the moment. So they collected about 474,000 euros. It's about $500,000. They get about 5% of that in fees that they never give back to people, even if they get ripped off. Kickstarter pockets and profits from people getting ripped off on their platforms. And they'll tell you that, oh, so many of our projects are more successful versus those that are not, but they're counting in the things like the media projects and the little smartphone mounts for your tripod, which are much easier to produce than a piece of hardware like this. I think if you looked at the computing products that have made their way to Kickstarter, the percentages will be much different. And in fact, the more expensive they get, the more likely they are not to actually work out. Indiegogo is part of the blame here also. They collected over $500,000 on behalf of Smach Z. I don't know what the fees they take are because they tend to negotiate these fees individually with the product backers, or the project creators, but I think they are clearly making some money off of this failed project as well. And you as a consumer have the right to file a chargeback with your credit card company. Now, the Kickstarter and Indiegogo platforms don't like when people do this, but they're also profiting from you getting ripped off. And I have no problem in my my conscience doing this. I've done it before. I've been successful in doing so. You do run the risk of getting kicked off of those platforms, but I do think it's time for consumers to start exercising rights. And this is what I'm going to be doing with this project and any others that I get ripped off on in the future. And if they ban me, I will tell you that they banned me, and we'll continue to talk about this moving forward. The media also needs to be a little more sensitive to these projects going in. I see more and more posts on The Verge and Engadget on all these great crowdfunding campaigns with these mocked up product prototype videos that get you all excited about something. They report these products like they actually exist when 9 times out of 10 they do not. I get so many emails from PR agencies asking me to talk about these crowdfunding campaigns, but when I ask them to send a prototype that I can get onto this table and test, not one sends it. And I think that is a pretty clear message as to who is going to be bearing the risk for their project. And I've had enough of companies that put all the risk on the backers versus actually assuming some of that risk themselves. Some companies do it right, many do not. And I think it's important that if you're going to want me to talk about your Kickstarter, send it to me so I can look at it and test it here and show everyone that I'm talking to that it actually works. And there's a probably better than zero chance that you're going to get the product in the end for putting your hard-earned money into whatever they're developing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's a controversial topic. I've talked about it before, but I think we're at a point now where just too many people are getting ripped off on these platforms, and it's about time we start holding these platforms and the media, for that matter, accountable for where they're directing people to spend their money.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including gold level supporters Mark Bollinger and Cody Falk. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.